Ladies and gentlemen, time is life. And when you waste time, you're not just wasting minutes, you are squandering fragments of your destiny. You were not born to be a copy. You were born to be original. Yet how many of us spend our lives comparing ourselves, imitating others, and investing our energy in things that have nothing to do with our calling? The greatest tragedy in life is not death. It is life without purpose. It is spending years climbing the ladder of success, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. And so I ask you today, whose ladder are you climbing? Whose race are you running? You must focus on yourself, not in selfishness, but in alignment. Because when you focus on you, on your assignment, on your potential, on your vision, you begin to unlock doors only you can walk through. You begin to develop what I call authentic productivity. Not just being busy, but being effective. You see, distraction is the enemy of direction. Some of you are so caught up in what others are doing that you've lost sight of your own garden. While you're watching their fruit grow, your soil is dry. Your seed is starving. Your dream is dormant. You don't have time to go. You don't have time to scroll endlessly through someone else's highlight reel. You don't have time to live for likes when heaven has already approved you for purpose. You are on assignment, and every moment matters. Let me tell you something. Your future is not waiting for your friends to validate you. Your future is waiting for you to decide that your time is sacred, that your mind is valuable, and that your purpose is non-negotiable. Stop giving your energy to relationships that drain you. Stop pouring into conversations that lead nowhere. Stop wasting your brilliance trying to prove your worth to people who were never qualified to evaluate your value. Time is the most valuable resource you possess. Unlike money, you cannot earn more of it. Unlike possessions, you cannot replace it. And unlike opportunities, it rarely gives you a second chance. Time is not just passing by, it is your life in motion. Every second that ticks by is a piece of your existence, a part of your divine assignment, slipping into his. So when you waste time, you are not merely being unproductive. You are surrendering pieces of your destiny. Many people underestimate the power of moments. They live as if tomorrow is guaranteed, as if next week will give them another chance to get serious. But the truth is, wasted time is the silent killer of purpose. It's not always the dramatic failures or sudden tragedies that derail a person's life. Often, it's the slow decay caused by the habit of postponing the important for the convenient. It's the distraction disguised as entertainment, the unnecessary conversation that becomes a routine. The procrastination that feels harmless until years have passed. We live in a world that celebrates being busy, but busyness is not the same as progress. Being constantly occupied doesn't mean you're advancing in life. You can be busy climbing a ladder that leads nowhere. You can fill your schedule with tasks and still miss your assignment. Time must be invested, not just spent. And it must be invested with intention. Because without intentionality, your hours will be consumed by other people's agendas, meaningless habits, and energy-draining distractions. The tragedy is that so many individuals are aware that they're wasting time, but they continue the cycle because comfort is seductive. It's easier to distract yourself with entertainment than to confront your potential. It's easier to talk about your dreams than to work on them. It's easier to repeat yesterday than to rise into tomorrow. But ease is not the pathway to purpose. Greatness is forged in the furnace of disciplined time management. If you want to fulfill your assignment in life, you must become a master of your time. People often say, I'll do it later, without realizing that later is not a guarantee. Life is fragile. Time is short. The window of opportunity is not open forever. Some doors are seasonal, some assignments are time sensitive. And when you delay, you run the risk of missing what was meant for you. Not because you weren't capable, but because you weren't focused. Wasted time creates missed moments, and missed moments lead to unfulfilled potential. Time management is not just about scheduling. It's about prioritizing your values. It's about recognizing that each hour you spend is a declaration of what you deem important. If you truly value your calling, your growth, and your destiny, you will stop giving your time to things that don't align with your purpose. You will begin to guard your time as a sacred trust. You will stop saying yes to everything and everyone and start choosing what moves you forward instead of what simply keeps you busy. One of the most liberating revelations you can have is that not everything deserves your time. Not every invitation should be accepted. Not every conversation needs your participation. Not every trend is worth your attention. When you begin to measure your time against your destiny, you become more discerning. You no longer allow urgency to override importance. You no longer let the opinions of others pull you in directions that have nothing to do with your calling. There's a season in your life where you must get radical about how you manage your time. You must audit your habits. You must review your daily routines. You must ask yourself hard questions like, what am I doing with my time that is not bearing fruit? Or, oh, what have I been postponing that I know I must start? Because your future will not just be the result of your dreams. It will be the outcome of your daily decisions. The truth is, your purpose is too important to be put on hold. Your calling is too vital to be buried under distractions. You were not created to simply survive days. You were born to fulfill a vision, to complete an assignment, to leave a legacy. But that will not happen if you treat time casually. Casual time produces average results. But focused, intentional, and guarded time produces transformation. So today, let this become your personal standard. No more wasted time. No more meaningless scrolling, not mindless entertainment. No more procrastinating on your growth. Choose to live as if every minute matters, because it does. Choose to act as if your assignment depends on what you do today, because it does. Focus on the value of your time, and you will begin to unlock the value of your life. Focus is the gateway to purpose. Without focus, life becomes a blur of activity with no clarity, no direction, and no meaning. When you lack focus, you dilute your potential and drift through life reacting instead of creating. But when you begin to focus on yourself, not selfishly, but intentionally, you start uncovering the layers of your calling. You begin to hear the quiet voice of vision that has always been inside of you, waiting for your attention. There is a difference between being busy and being purposeful. Many people are busy with things that have no connection to their destiny. They chase trends, mimic others, and get entangled in distractions that do not contribute to their growth. They live by comparison, always measuring their worth by what someone else is doing. But focus calls you to a higher power. It pulls you out of the crowd and into clarity. It demands that you look inward and ask, what was I created to do? The moment you begin to focus on yourself, you take responsibility for your life. You stop blaming your environment, your upbringing, or your past. You begin to realize that your future is not in anyone else's hands. It's in yours. And that realization is both empowering and sobering, because focus does not allow excuses to survive. It forces you to confront your habits, your mindset, your disciplines, and your time. It tells you that if you want to live with purpose, you must live with focus. When you give yourself permission to focus, you begin to extract potential that was lying dormant. You begin to discover strengths that were buried under distraction. You start noticing that you are gifted in areas others might have ignored. But those gifts do not reveal themselves in noise. They reveal themselves in stillness, in solitude, in focus. That is why it is critical to step away from the noise of the crowd and give yourself space to grow. Focus eliminates the need for comparison. When you are focused on your own growth, you stop worrying about how fast someone else is running. You understand that their race is not your race. Their purpose is not your purpose. Their timeline is not your timeline. You stop being intimidated by someone else's success and start being inspired by your own progress. Because the truth is, the only person you are truly in competition with is the version of you from yesterday. It is also important to understand that focus is a decision, not a feeling. You won't always feel motivated. You won't always feel clear. But you must choose to stay focused anyway. That means developing the discipline to say no, even to good things, if they do not align with your purpose. It means making choices that build your future, even if they are uncomfortable in the moment. Focus is not glamorous. It's not always exciting, but it is always effective. In a world that pulls your attention in 100 directions, focus becomes a superpower. The internet, social media, and constant connectivity have created an environment where distraction is normal. But if you want to rise above average, you must live differently. You must decide that your vision is worth more than your urge to be entertained. You must believe that your growth is more important than your desire to fit in. You must choose to protect your focus as if your future depends on it, because it does. When you focus on yourself, you begin to ask the right questions. What am I really here to do? What kind of life do I want to build? These questions open the door to purpose, and purpose brings direction, and direction brings fulfillment. There is a deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you are walking in your lane, at your pace, fulfilling your unique assignment. That satisfaction cannot be found in applause, approval, or external validation. It only comes from inner alignment. This is why focusing on yourself is not selfish. It's sacred, because you cannot give the world your best if you don't know who you are. You cannot pour into others if you are empty. You cannot lead if you have not first learned to follow your own path with discipline and vision. The greatest gift you can give to the people around you is a life lived in clarity and purpose. And that begins with focus. So many people want to make an impact, but they're scattered. They want to leave a legacy, but they're distracted. They want to walk in purpose, but they're looking everywhere except within. You must understand that you don't find purpose outside of you. You uncover it within, and that discovery begins with focus. Let today be the day you turn your attention inward, not to withdraw from the world, but to prepare to serve it better. Choose to focus on your growth, your healing, your learning, and your vision. Eliminate distractions. Cut off what does not feed your future. And most of all, stop waiting for perfect condition. Focus works in the storm just as powerfully as in peace. Your life is too important to live distracted. Your purpose is too vital to waste another day in confusion. Focus on yourself, not because the world doesn't matter, but because when you become who you were created to be, you can change the world. Distraction is subtle, yet is powerful. It does not always announce itself with chaos or noise. Sometimes it comes dressed as entertainment, as opportunity, as busyness, or even as relationships that seem harmless, but are slowly pulling you off course. The greatest threat to a life of purpose is not always failure. It is distraction. Because while failure teaches you something, distraction wastes your time without you even knowing it. And when time is wasted, destiny is delayed. Direction is what gives life momentum. It's what keeps your decisions aligned, your energy focused, and your goals attainable. Without direction, you wander. You try a bit of this, a bit of that. You jump from one idea to another, from one crowd to the next, hoping something will click. But direction cannot exist in the presence of constant distraction. Every time you allow your attention to be pulled away from your purpose, you lose traction. You slow down. You veer off the path that was designed for you. Distraction often disguises itself as productivity. It will keep you busy scrolling, busy reacting, busy comparing, busy attending to things that don't move your life forward. You'll think you're doing a lot, but in reality, you're just circling the same mountain. You're just burning energy without building anything meaningful. And the saddest part is that many people will live their whole lives in this loop, never realizing they were deceived by distraction. That's why you must become intentional about guarding your focus. You cannot afford to live your life in reaction mode. Not every phone call needs to be answered. Not every conversation deserves your engagement. Not every trend needs your attention. You must get to the place where you measure everything against your vision. If it doesn't align with your assignment, it's a distraction. Even if it's popular, even if it's fun, even if others are doing it. One of the most dangerous distractions is comparison. In today's world of social media, it's easy to get lost watching what everyone else is doing. You see someone else succeed, and suddenly you question your own journey. You see their highlight reel and begin to doubt your process. But understand this, your direction is not based on someone else's timeline. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right where you need to be. But you'll only stay on course if you keep your eyes on your own path. Distraction also shows up in the form of emotional entanglements, relationships and environments that do not nourish your growth. Your growth. Some people are in your life not to support your purpose, but to siphon your energy. They're not pushing you forward. They're keeping you comfortable in complacency. When you are trying to go somewhere meaningful, you cannot be weighed down by people who have no vision. You must surround yourself with voices that challenge you, not just comfort you. Comfort you. Because comfort can become a distraction when it keeps you from growing. Direction required. You will not stumble into destiny. You must choose it every single day. And that means choosing to eliminate distractions, not just once, but continually. It's a daily practice. It's waking up and deciding, I will not waste today. It's refusing to give time to things that don't build your character, your mind, your skills, or your calling. It's learning to be okay with missing out on what's popular so you don't miss out on what's purposeful. And it's important to remember, distraction doesn't always feel wrong. In fact, it often feels good. That's what makes it so dangerous. It appeals to your desire for ease, for comfort, for instant gratification. It offers you the illusion of progress without the demand of sacrifice. But real direction, real purpose will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you distraction. It will cost you popularity. But what you gain in return is priceless. A life that is focused, fruitful, and fulfilling. So take inventory. Where is your attention going? What habits are stealing your time? What people are draining your energy? What patterns are keeping you stuck in cycles that lead nowhere? You cannot fix what you do not face. And you cannot move in the right direction until you admit what's been distracting you. Make the decision to be different. Decide that your life matters too much to live scattered. Be ruthless with your time. Be unapologetic about your focus. Refuse to let distractions rob you of the life you were born to live. Because when you eliminate distractions, your vision becomes sharper. Your goals become clearer. Your energy becomes stronger. And your life begins to move with purpose and power. You were not created to live in confusion. You were created to move with intention. You were created to walk in alignment with a greater vision. But that vision can only be fulfilled when you silence the noise, cancel the distractions, and protect your direction. The future belongs to the focused. And the more you stay on course, the more you'll discover how powerful your life can truly be. You are not a random collection of experiences or coincidences. You are intentional. You were born for a specific reason at a specific time, in a specific generation. Because there is something in you that the world needs. But many people go through life unaware of this truth, treating themselves as ordinary, living by default rather than by design. That is the tragedy of a life disconnected from purpose. When you don't understand that you are strategic, you live carelessly, allowing your days to be shaped by external demands instead of internal conviction. You must recognize that your life is a solution to a problem. Your presence on this earth is the Creator's answer to a specific need in the world. That means you have something unique, an insight, a gift, a voice, a vision that cannot be duplicated. You are not a copy. You are not here to blend in. You are here to make an impact. But to make that impact, you must begin to value yourself correctly. You must start seeing your time, your energy, your growth, and your choices as sacred, because your future is not a random event. It is a divine assignment. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in life is to stop asking, what do I want to do? And start asking, what was I born to do? That question shifts your perspective from wandering to intentionality. It forces you to look at your life with clarity. It demands that you begin to organize your days around your destiny. You no longer wake up just to survive or to exist. You wake up to build, to contribute, to grow into the person you were created to be. You must begin to live with the awareness that your choices today are shaping your legacy tomorrow. Your habits are constructing your future. Your discipline is writing the story of your life. That's why you cannot afford to be casual with your time. Casual time leads to a casual life. But intentional time leads to a life of purpose and fulfillment. Everything about you, your background, your experiences, your strengths, even your struggles, has been woven together to equip you for your assignment. Your life has been customized for impact. When you realize you are strategic, you stop waiting for permission to grow. You stop hoping someone will notice you or validate you. You stop trying to fit in with crowds that don't reflect your calling. Instead, you rise. You take responsibility. You make the decision to develop your character, to sharpen your gifts, to expand your mind, and to live with clarity. You don't need everyone to understand you. You don't need everyone to agree with you. What you need is alignment with who you truly are and with the future you're building. Many people waste years trying to become what others expect. They spend their energy chasing dreams that were never there. They try to meet standards set by culture, family, or friends. Standards that have nothing to do with their design. But when you are strategic, You understand that not every path is your path. Not every opportunity is your opportunity. Not every good thing is a destined thing. You begin to filter your decisions through the lens of purpose. You become selective. You know how to say no, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. You also realize that being strategic doesn't mean your journey will be easy. In fact, it means you'll face more pressure. Purpose attracts resistance. Vision attracts opposition. But pressure is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to prepare you. Diamonds are made under pressure. So is greatness. So is legacy. The adversity you face is proof that you're carrying something valuable. If there was nothing special in you, the distractions and delays wouldn't come. But they come because you're carrying purpose. And that purpose makes you a target. But you are not fragile. You are not here by mistake. Your life has a blueprint, and the more you seek to understand it, the more you begin to walk in authority. You stop living reactively and start living creatively. You don't just survive seasons, you master them. You don't just talk about goals, you execute. You don't just dream, you deliver. Because you understand that your life has meaning beyond comfort, beyond convenience, beyond conformity. You must also stop minimizing your significance. Don't let fear convince you that your voice doesn't matter. Don't let insecurity lie to you and say you're too late, too unqualified, too broken. The truth is, everything you've been through is raw material for your assignment. Even your failures have value when viewed through the lens of growth. You've been equipped through your experiences. And now it's time to move forward with boldness and intention. Live like you are strategic. Talk like you are sent. Work like your time matters. Think like your life is part of a larger story. Because it is. The world is waiting for you to step into who you truly are. There's a gap only you can fill. There's a sound only you can release. There's a solution only you can carry. So today, rise with clarity. Walk with purpose. Eliminate distractions. Commit to becoming the version of yourself that your destiny requires. Because you are not random. You are the answer someone else is waiting for. There is a season in your life where separation becomes necessary. Not out of pride, but out of purpose. Growth requires space. Evolution demands distance. There comes a time when the crowd you've been walking with, the conversations you've been entertaining, and the environments you've been dwelling in no longer match who you are becoming. If you want to rise to the next level of your life, you must be willing to separate yourself from anything and anyone that doesn't align with your future. Too often, people stay attached to familiarity at the cost of their destiny. They stay connected to circles that feed their comfort, but starve their calling. They keep showing up in rooms where they are tolerated, but not stretched. But you cannot grow in environments that keep you small. You cannot evolve if you are constantly surrounded by voices that don't challenge your thinking or fuel your development. Separation is not about isolation. It is about elevation. It is about removing yourself from what limits you so that you can step into what empowers. When you are serious about growth, you become intentional about your surroundings. You begin to evaluate not just what you do, but who you do if you look closely at the conversations you're having. Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Are they rooted in vision or in gossip? Are they building your mindset or feeding your fears? You begin to ask hard questions. Who in my life inspires discipline? Who challenges me to think bigger? Who calls out the best in me, not the most comfortable version of me? You must understand that not everyone can go where you're going. Some people were only meant to be in your life for a season, not forever. The mistake is trying to drag seasonal people in. Some relationships are built on who you used to be, not who you are becoming. And when you try to grow while clinging to those old connections, you create inner conflict. You end up torn between progress and familiarity. But growth demands a clean break. You cannot hold on to your past and embrace your future. At the same time, this is where courage comes in. It takes courage to walk alone for a while. It takes courage to be misunderstood, to be talked about, to be criticized for choosing growth over. It takes courage to separate yourself from distractions, to say no to social obligations, to turn down invitations that don't support your goals. But that courage is the key that unlocks your next level. Because in the quiet spaces, when you step away from the noise, you finally hear your own voice. You finally recognize your vision. You finally begin to think clearly without the pressure to perform or conform. Separation also reveals who you truly are. When you're not constantly surrounded by people telling you who to be or what to believe, you begin to discover your true values. You stop mimicking others and start creating from a place of authenticity. You no longer seek validation. You walk in conviction. You no longer ask for permission. You operate from purpose. And in that space, you become powerful. Not because you're better than others, but because you've aligned your life with your assignment. There is wisdom in solitude. Some of the greatest transformations happen not in crowds, but in silence. When you give yourself the space to reflect, to pray, to learn, to heal, and to plan, you set yourself up for sustainable success. Growth is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It's you waking up earlier to study. It's you skipping the party to build your business. It's you turning off the distractions to work on your craft. It's you choosing temporary discomfort for permanent progress. And let this be clear. Separation is not about arrogance. It's not about looking down on others or believing you are superior. It is about recognizing that your time, your energy, and your purpose are too valuable to be wasted. It is about acknowledging that you have work to do, and that work requires clarity, discipline, and focus. If being around certain people continually causes you to lose momentum, compromise your values, or question your purpose, then it's time to let go, not out of bitterness, but out of responsibility to your calling. People may not understand your decision to pull away. They may call you distant, changed, or even selfish. But let them talk. You're not changing to impress them. You're transforming to fulfill something greater. And when the fruit of your discipline begins to show, when your life starts bearing results, the same people who question your separation will be the ones studying your success. So don't be afraid to walk alone for a season. Don't be afraid to close doors that no longer serve your future. Don't be afraid to create distance between you and what no longer reflects your values. Separation precedes elevation. Detachment precedes growth. Clarity comes when you quiet the noise. You have a vision to protect. You have a life to build. You have a purpose to fulfill. Don't sacrifice it for temporary company or surface-level connections. Choose your future over familiarity. Choose growth over group approval. Choose purpose over popularity. Because in the end, the path to greatness is often walked alone, at least for a while, but it always leads to a life of greater impact and deeper fulfillment.